If your plan for 2026 is another reset, another detox, or telling yourself this is the time I just need to be more disciplined, I want you to pause for a second. That type of plan is not where weight loss really is, because you don't need all these rules, you don't need restriction, and you definitely don't need another program that's going to work for like 2 weeks and then falls apart the moment that real life shows up. What's important to have is a blueprint that actually works for your life. I work exclusively with women over 40, busy women who are dealing with hormonal changes, stress, perimenopausal weight gain, diet burnout, and that frustrating feeling of, I'm doing everything right, so why isn't this working? These women, they're not lazy, they're not unmotivated, and they most surely are not broken in some kind of way. They're overwhelmed, exhausted, and really feeling stuck in this health advice that is not really designed for this phase of life that we're in. What I've seen over and over again is that weight loss finally clicks when we actually stop chasing perfection and start building habits that fit real life. That's what this video is about today. I want you to have a blueprint that actually feels like something that you can stick with. Simple, clear, realistic. This is about awareness-based eating, protein first meals, fiber to stabilize our blood sugar, daily movement, strength training to protect your metabolism, and a mindset that keeps you consistent instead of quitting. That's it. Okay, I'm joking. I know it's a lot, but I really want to break this down step by step, because none of this works if you don't understand how to apply it in your real life. Let's start with the first one, breakfast, because this is where I think sometimes women get stuck. I want to be clear about something right up front. I don't believe in skipping meals just to follow some type of rule, but I also believe you don't need to have breakfast just because you woke up and somebody told you you need to have breakfast. A lot of us are taught you have to eat breakfast, or you need a big breakfast to kickstart your metabolism. For many women, that belief alone is actually working against them. Here's a shift I want you to make. Breakfast is optional. Awareness is non-negotiable. This is where this type of awareness is really helpful for your digestive health. It's not about following intermittent fasting. It's just called, I wake up, I feel how my belly feels. If it still feels like it's digesting what I had earlier the night before, then I pause and wait till my body naturally says that it needs food. There are a couple of nuances here, because of course, if you're someone who's training hard in the morning, I'm actually going to advise you to eat breakfast, but that's a whole nother story. If you wake up and you're genuinely not hungry, you don't need to force food into your body. If you are hungry, nothing wrong with that there. It just means that you're going to eat intentionally. This is where, if we're eating intentionally, where we do start strategizing around our breakfast. When you choose to eat breakfast, the goal is not to have some big, heavy, carb-loaded meal that's going to set you up for crashes and cravings all morning and all day. The goal is to have a low-calorie, high-protein, simple breakfast that sets you up for success the rest of your day. I want you to think like this: a protein shake, plain Greek yogurt with berries, a light egg-based type option. It does not have to be fancy, and most certainly not complicated. What matters when we are taking breakfast in the morning is that you're being protein centered, getting in at least about 20 to 30 grams of protein. Why is this going to work? Because protein helps regulate your appetite. It's going to stabilize your blood sugar, and it gives you the flexibility for the rest of your meals without that sort of, oh, I messed up type of mindset. This is where we get that mindset of being intentional instead of automatic. You're no longer just eating because the clock says so. You're eating because your body has asked for it, and you respond to that wisely. Let's talk a little bit more about protein because this is where everything starts to feel a little easier. One of the very first things that I do with each of my clients, we stop obsessing about all these macronutrients, the carbs and the fats. And I like to focus on protein first. Chaos disappears, cravings go down, energy feels more stable, and overeating, especially later in the day, usually starts to calm down just naturally. It doesn't matter how you're eating right now. If you're in a fat loss phase and you need to reduce calories, protein still matters. If you've been under eating for years and you need to reverse diet, which means eating more calories, protein still matters. Either way, protein needs to be that anchor on your plate. Here's a reason that I focus only on protein and calories. When you're getting the calories your body needs, your carbs and fats tend to fall into place without you having to micromanage. Instead of tracking everything and feeling all overwhelmed, I'd rather you ask one simple question at each of your meals. Where's my protein? Protein is what helps maintain lean muscle mass, especially as we age. It takes more energy even to digest protein, which literally means it's burning more calories just in you digesting that protein. And that is what makes it a metabolic firehouse. So no, this is not some trendy obsession here with protein. It actually is about understanding when you're in a fat loss phase, protein isn't optional. It is essential. And yes, this matters long term too. This is about becoming a protein-centered eater for life. Whether you're animal-based or whether you're a plant-based eater, this is especially important to you. You want to be building your meals around protein and not sprinkling it in as an afterthought. For most women I work with, 25 to 40 grams of protein per meal. Let's just say that's a sweet spot. About 40 grams is usually on the higher side. If that feels like a lot right now, that's totally okay. But if you're consistently hitting 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal, you're already doing yourself a big favor. 3 meals per day like that, that's a really strong foundation. And depending on your body, your height, your goals, and whether you're in an active fat loss phase, those protein targets may need to go a little bit higher over time. We start with just consistency because when protein is dialed in, everything else gets easier. Okay, let's talk about fiber. A lot of what we think is hunger is actually blood sugar swings. And this is really important to understand. When your blood sugar spikes and crashes throughout the day, your body sends a signal to feel like you're hungry when you're actually not truly hungry. And it's like a chemistry thing here. This is where protein and fiber together can become really incredibly powerful for you. Protein helps you to feel satiated, and then the fiber helps to slow the absorption of all of this glucose and sugar through your bloodstream. And when glucose enters the bloodstream slower, your insulin response is calmer, and that means better insulin resistance. What this ultimately means is better insulin sensitivity, less fat storage, and less of that stubborn belly fat that shows up at this stage of life. Fiber also helps you to feel fuller longer, which naturally is going to start reducing some of that grazing and overeating. And we can't talk about fiber without also talking about its benefits for your gut. Fiber keeps things moving. It helps clear the waste out of your body, and it feeds your gut bacteria, which plays a really big role in blood sugar regulation, inflammation, and your weight management. So this all matters on multiple levels. When it comes to fiber, I actually encourage clients to get it as much as possible from real food first. Yes, fiber supplements exist, And sometimes they're helpful, but you can get a lot just by being intentional with your meals. For example, if you're having a yogurt in the morning, you can easily add chia seeds or flax seeds, even something like a slice of Ezekiel bread, like sprouted bread, can add meaningful fiber without much effort. And if we talk about lunch, this is where vegetables and your beans and legumes really shine. Veggies, beans, lentils, chickpeas. In addition to being protein centered, it is helpful to just start anchoring your plate with more fibers. Now, in the evening, I want you to think of it this way: salad greens, leafy vegetables, fiber-rich carbohydrates like quinoa or sweet potatoes. Having these foods helps to stop these glucose spikes and prevents this cycle of crash and craving and overeating that ultimately leads to this fat accumulation over time. Protein plus fiber is what creates stable blood sugar, steady energy, and better appetite controls. Instead of asking, what should I avoid? Start asking, what protein am I pairing with my fiber on this plate? That one shift alone can completely change how your body responds. I just want to share something with you. I am kicking off a newsletter in this new year, and this is where I'm going to be sharing more of my thoughts, some of the behind the scenes stuff, and what I am building next. My goal is to build a space where we can talk about these things that matter in midlife. Our hormones, our identity, our strength, our confidence, our health, so all the things that come with this transition that we are moving through. If this resonates with you, just click the link below and get on the mailing list. That way you'll be the first to know when everything launches. It is time to talk about movement, and I know, you've heard it probably so many times, 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And honestly, that number can start feeling real annoying. But the real reason movement matters at this stage of life has little to do with that number. It's about stress regulation. Most of us are living in a constant state of overstimulation. Too much screen time, too much mental overload, too many decisions, too much pressure. When your nervous system stays in that overstimulated state, cortisol, it's going to stay elevated, and elevated cortisol makes fat loss harder, especially around the belly area. And this is why low intensity movement becomes a non-negotiable. Walking, easy cycling, swimming, anything that's easy breezy but still gets your body, and yes, your booty, moving. This type of movement tells your nervous system you're safe. And when your nervous system feels safe, cortisol comes down. That's when blood sugar regulation starts improving, and that's when insulin sensitivity improves, and that's when fat loss becomes possible again. It's no longer about crushing workouts. This is the time that you need your body to exhale. This is where I want you to stop thinking in extremes and just start thinking about balance. I personally work from a bare minimum mindset. If I can move intentionally through the week, walk as much as I can, bike when it feels good, and then layer in my strength training, that's success. For most women, that looks like daily low intensity movement plus 3 strength training sessions per week, around 30 to 45 minutes. You don't have to start working out harder. You need to regulate your stress better. Movement is not just about burning calories anymore, okay? It's about calming your nervous system so your body can actually start letting go of the fat. Okay, now we need to talk about strength training, and I want to be very clear here. This is no longer about trying to get to a beach body, but no shame if you still rocking your bikini, girls. In midlife, we're here about protecting our health. We're dealing with decreased estrogen. We're dealing with metabolic slowdown. We're dealing with blood sugar dysregulation. We're dealing with bone loss and increased risk of osteoporosis. So strength training, it's not even an option anymore. This is another one of those non-negotiables. Your focus in the gym or at home, it's not about weight loss. Your focus is muscle preservation, because muscle is your metabolic fuel tank. When we start losing muscle, this is when our metabolism slows down. If your metabolism is slowing down, fat loss, it becomes harder. If you've spent years dieting, detoxing, or under eating, there's a good chance that your metabolism is already a wee bit dysregulated. So this is why you cannot be in some type of extreme calorie deficit and expect to actually achieve results or maintain results without strength training. You just cannot. Muscle allows you to lose fat and keep it off. Here's the good news. You don't need to train every single day. For most women, 3 days per week of strength training, about 30 to 45 minutes, is just enough. That's it. And I know some of you are thinking, look, I've never lifted weight, and it's perfectly okay. Everyone starts somewhere. You start with body weight. You start light, and over time, weeks, months, you gradually build strength. Eventually, yes, you will want to lift heavier weight. And it's not because, and we don't start lifting heavier weights because we're trying to bulk up, but because your bones, your muscles, and your metabolism need that as a stimulus. And strength training, it doesn't just change your body. It improves bone density, blood sugar regulation, blood pressure, cholesterol levels, insulin sensitivities. I mean, it even has cognitive benefits. So it helps to improve your confidence, your mental clarity, and your long-term brain health. This now is about staying strong. It's about staying vital. It's about longevity. Strength is not a phase. It's how we are going to take care of ourselves in this season of life. It's time to talk to my girls who love to weigh themselves on a daily basis, because this is where a lot of women get completely derailed. If you're obsessing over the scale, I want you to hear this clearly, so clearly, please. Your body, it just doesn't change overnight. It doesn't change because you joined a 3-month program. It doesn't change because you suddenly decided to be perfect for 2 weeks. And it definitely doesn't change just because you are working harder than you ever have before, okay? A lot of us spent years neglecting ourselves or just surviving, and then we expect our bodies to flip a switch instantly just because we started some type of program. That's not how adaptation works, y'all. Your body needs time to learn, time to adjust, time to respond to consistency. And this is where I want us to change the conversation completely. I want you to stop chasing weight loss. I want you to start thinking about body composition, okay? Because the number on the scale is influenced by so many things. Water retention, hormonal shifts, inflammation, stress. Your scale, it's not telling the full story. What actually matters is, are you building lean muscle mass? Are you reducing your body fat percentage over time? That is the real goal. I'm not over here talking about bodybuilder type of muscle. I'm just talking about becoming stronger, more metabolically efficient, and more resilient as you age. If you have access to a smart scale at home that gives you body composition data, that can be helpful, but take it with a grain of salt in terms of accuracy sometimes. If you have access to something like a DEXA scan, that's going to be even better. Here's the important part. This is not something that you should be out there checking daily, ladies. Body composition is something to reassess monthly, or even better, quarterly. Real change takes time. Instead of fixating on the scale, I want you to start tracking something else. Your habits. Ask yourself, how many times this week did I strength train? Am I consistently hitting 3 sessions per week? Am I being protein censored most days? And am I moving my body regularly? When I say consistently, I mean imperfect consistency. This means going with that 80-20% rule. 80% of the time, you're showing up, you're committed, you are intentional. And 20% of the time, you're just living your life. That means if you have a slice of cake, have it. If you have a scoop of ice cream, enjoy it. No more of this guilt, no more spiraling, no more self-punishment, because life is meant to be lived. And here's what I really, really, really want you to remember. Just because the scale isn't moving doesn't mean that your body isn't changing. Hormones are different now. Your physiology is completely different now. And it's going to mean that progress is going to be a little bit slower, but it's still happening. All of these habits that you're building, balanced eating, consistent moving, strength training, these are setting you up for long-term success, for strength, for health, for longevity. And that matters far more than a number on a scale. Let's recap this, because this is your blueprint. Redefine your breakfast. Protein at every single meal. Fiber daily. Get in your steps. Strength train weekly, non-negotiable. And compassion for yourself always. This is not another diet. This is you learning how to take care of yourself, not just for right now, not just for weight loss, but for your longevity, your future, and for the woman that you're becoming. This year, it's about becoming the woman who is no longer neglecting her health. You are about to be that woman who is leaning in instead of checking out. And you're not about to be that woman who's just trying to look better, but you just want to feel better inside. Make sure to watch the next video. And as always, keep moving, keep glowing. You are sexy, strong, and unstoppable.